On the corner of River Road, between a barber shop and a closed shoe store, there was a small grocery store called Green Basket. It was not fancy. The sign was a little crooked. The paint on the doorframe had chipped. But the place felt warm. The air always smelled like fresh bread, spices, and sweet fruit. People in the neighborhood liked it because the owners smiled, remembered names, and sometimes slipped an extra candy to kids who came in with a few coins. The owners were Sam and Nora. Sam was quiet, steady, and careful with money. Nora was friendly, quick to laugh, and good at making the store feel alive even on slow days. They were not rich. They were not famous. They were just two people trying to build a calm life in a town that often felt too loud. For years, the store stayed the same. Then, one rainy evening, a single broken step changed everything. It started like any other day. Nora unlocked the front door at sunrise. She turned the sign to open and switched on the lights. Sam rolled up the metal shutter over the back entrance, then carried in a crate of oranges. The radio played soft music behind the counter. By noon, the store had its normal crowd. A man bought tea and crackers. A woman picked up rice and onions. A kid begged for chips and got a firm no. Nora joked with them all, as if the store was a tiny world where nothing truly bad could happen. But around 3 o'clock, Sam noticed the basement door. It was behind the counter, half hidden by a tall shelf of canned soup. The door was old, with a metal handle and a small lock. Sam kept it locked because the basement was messy. It held extra stock, broken boxes, and tools they rarely used. Sam saw the lock was not straight. He leaned closer. The lock looked twisted, as if someone had pulled on it hard. Nora followed his eyes. "What's wrong?" "The lock," Sam said. "It wasn't like that yesterday." Nora frowned. "Maybe you hit it with a box." "I don't think so," Sam replied. He tested the handle. The door stayed shut. The lock still held, but it felt loose. Nora gave a small shrug. "We'll check it later." Sam nodded, but his stomach did not settle. He had a habit of noticing small changes. He trusted that habit because it had saved them from trouble before, like a broken fridge wire or a leaky pipe. A few hours later, the rain began. At first, it tapped the windows like gentle fingers. Then it got heavier. The sky turned dark even though it was still early. Customers rushed in and out quickly, holding plastic bags over their heads. Near closing time, Nora carried a box of bottled water toward the basement door. They had sold more water than usual because the town's water pressure had been low all week. "Basement is already full," Sam said. "Still need to stack these," Nora answered. "I'll just put them on the stairs." Sam went to help her. The basement door creaked as he unlocked it. The smell of cold concrete rose up. The stairs were narrow, made of old wood with a thin rubber strip along the edge of each step. Sam stepped down first, holding the door open. Nora followed, carrying the box. The second step from the top made a sound. Not a creak. Not a groan. A sharp crack. The step dropped under Nora's foot, and she stumbled forward with a small gasp. The box slipped from her arms. Bottles hit the stairs and rolled down, thumping against wood. Sam caught Nora by the elbow before she fell. "You okay?" he asked, breathing hard. Nora's face was pale. "Yes. Just scared me." Sam looked at the broken step. The wood had split wide, revealing the inside. But it wasn't only wood inside. There was a gap, like a hollow space beneath the stairs. And from that gap came a strange smell. Not the normal basement smell of dust and old cardboard. This smelled like metal and wet earth. Sam crouched and aimed his phone flashlight into the crack. He expected to see rotten wood. Instead, he saw darkness that went deeper than the stair space should allow. He pressed his fingers carefully against the broken edge and pulled away a loose piece. The crack widened slightly. A draft of cold air brushed his face. Nora swallowed. "Sam, why is there air coming from under the step?" Sam did not answer. His eyes stayed fixed on the darkness. He shined the light again, moving it slowly. The beam caught something that made his throat tighten. A metal surface. Smooth. Flat. Not like plumbing. Not like a nail or a tool. It looked like a panel. Sam reached into the crack, careful not to cut his hand. His fingers touched cold metal. Nora leaned closer. "What is that?" Sam's voice came out low. "I don't know." They stood there in silence while rain beat against the store windows above. The basement felt colder now, like the mountain air had somehow slipped into the building. Nora's hands trembled. "Maybe it's an old support plate." "Under the stairs," Sam said. Nora tried to laugh, but it sounded fake. "Maybe the building is old. Maybe it has weird things." Sam looked at the wall beside the stairs. The concrete was stained in spots. There was a line of darker gray, almost like a shadow that had been painted over. He stood and walked 2 steps down, then reached toward that darker line. He pressed his palm against the wall. It didn't feel like concrete. It felt like thin wood. Sam pushed. The panel gave slightly. Nora stared. "That's not real concrete." Sam found the edge of the panel and pulled. A section of the wall shifted outward with a soft scrape, like a door that had not been opened in years. Behind it was a narrow opening. A passage. The kind of passage that should not exist under a small grocery store. Nora took a step back. "No. No, no." Sam stared into the passage. The phone light revealed a tight corridor lined with old boards. Wires ran along the ceiling, some cut, some hanging. The air smelled damp and stale. "What is this?" Nora whispered. Sam's mind raced. He thought about the building's history. The store had been here long before they bought it. The agent had told them it used to be a bakery. Before that, maybe a storage building. But a hidden passage. He looked at Nora. "We need to call someone." Nora shook her head quickly. "Call who? The landlord? The police?" "Sam, what if this is something bad?" Sam opened his mouth, but a sound cut him off. A faint clink. Like metal tapping metal. It came from inside the passage. Sam froze. Nora grabbed his arm so hard it hurt. "Did you hear that?" Sam nodded slowly. The clink came again, followed by a soft dragging noise. Something inside the passage was moving. Sam turned off the phone flashlight without thinking, as if darkness would protect them. They stood in complete silence, barely breathing. Then the dragging stopped. A long pause followed. Nora whispered, "Close it." Sam moved carefully, pushing the panel back into place. The wood slid shut and blended into the wall again, as if it had never been there. He stepped back, heart pounding. Nora looked like she might cry. "Someone is down there." Sam swallowed. "Or something." Nora's eyes flashed with fear. "Don't say that." Sam rubbed his face. His hands were shaking. "We're leaving. Now." They climbed up to the store level, locked the basement door, and stood behind the counter as if nothing had happened. But the store had changed. The shelves looked the same. The lights hummed the same. Yet the air felt different, like the building had a second heartbeat that they had never noticed before. Sam checked the front door. It was locked. Nora watched the back entrance. The metal shutter was down. "We should close early," Nora said. Sam nodded. "Yes." He flipped the sign to closed even though it was still 15 minutes before their normal time. Nora pulled down the blinds. Then the phone rang. The landline behind the counter was old and rarely used. Most customers called their mobile phones if they needed something. The landline mostly existed because it came with the store. The ringing sounded too loud in the quiet. Sam stared at the phone. Nora whispered, "Don't answer." The phone rang again. And again. Sam swallowed and picked it up slowly. "Hello." For a moment, there was only static. Then a voice spoke. It was not loud. Not angry. It was calm, like someone giving a simple reminder. "You opened the wall," the voice said. Sam's blood went cold. "Who is this?" Sam demanded. The voice continued, steady and certain. "You shouldn't go down there. It's not yours." Nora covered her mouth with both hands. Sam's grip tightened on the receiver. "If you're in my building, I'm calling the police." A quiet sound came through the line, almost like a sigh. Police won't help you, the voice said. Not if you want your store to stay standing. Sam's heart hammered. What do you want? The voice paused, then said, put the wall back the way it was. Fix the step. Forget what you saw. Sam tried to speak, but his mouth felt dry. Nora mouthed, hang up. Sam swallowed and forced words out. Why are you calling this number? The voice answered immediately, as if it had been waiting for that question. Because this line was installed for us first. Sam's skin prickled. Then the voice added, and because the builder knew someone would eventually break that step. Sam's eyes widened. The builder, he repeated. There was a click. The line went dead. Sam stood frozen with the receiver in his hand. The dial tone buzzed like a warning. Nora grabbed Sam's wrist. Who was that? Sam set the receiver down slowly. I don't know. Nora's voice shook. They said the builder knew. Sam's mind flashed to the property papers in their small office. The old documents they had never fully read because the store had been busy and life had moved fast. Basement, Sam whispered. We need to find the old files. Nora stared at him. Now. Sam nodded. Before someone comes back. They hurried into the back office, a cramped room with a small desk and shelves of receipts. Sam pulled open the bottom drawer where they kept the purchase paperwork. Nora held a flashlight because the office light flickered. Sam flipped through stacks until he found the folder with the building history. He saw the names of previous owners, dates, permits, inspection notes. Then he found a thin page labeled, Structural Additions. His eyes scanned the lines. One entry was underlined in faded ink. Stairwell reinforcement and sub-wall panel installed. Under it was a name. A signature. Sam's throat tightened as he read it out loud. R. Hale. Nora's face went pale. That's the same name from the mountain cabin story we just did. Sam looked at her, confused for a second, then realized what she meant. Lena's story was a story. But this was their life. He shook his head quickly, trying to clear it. No. Different. This is real paperwork. But the name still sat there on the page like a shadow. Nora whispered, what does it mean? Sam stared at the signature. He didn't know yet. But he knew one thing for sure. Someone had built something under their grocery store on purpose. And someone still cared enough to threaten them over it. Outside, the rain slowed, but the silence that followed felt worse. Because now Sam and Nora could hear something else. A faint rhythmic thump. Not from outside. From below. From under the stairs. Like someone, or something, climbing up. The thump came again. Slow. Heavy. Careful. Sam held his breath. Nora's hand tightened around his arm, her nails pressing through his sleeve. Did you hear that? She whispered. Sam nodded without looking at her. His eyes stayed on the office door, as if whatever was below might somehow push through the walls. The thump stopped. Silence spread through the store, thick and uncomfortable. Nora swallowed. Maybe it's just pipes. Sam wanted to believe that. He truly did. But pipes didn't stop when you listened. Pipes didn't wait. We're not staying here tonight, Sam said quietly. But the store. The store can wait, he said. We can't. They stepped out of the office and moved slowly toward the front counter. Sam checked the lock again, even though he had already checked it twice. Nora pulled her jacket tighter around herself. Another sound came from below. This time it was not a thump. It was a scrape. Like something heavy being dragged across stone. Nora let out a small cry before she could stop herself. That's it, Sam said. We're leaving. They moved toward the back entrance. Sam lifted the metal shutter just enough to slip under. The alley behind the store was dark and wet, the rainwater shining under the streetlight. As soon as they stepped outside, Sam pulled the shutter down again with a loud bang. The noise echoed. For a moment, neither of them moved. Nothing followed. No footsteps. No voices. Just the quiet hum of the street. They walked quickly to their car and drove away without looking back. That night, neither of them slept. Sam lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the sound of the phone call in his head. Nora sat on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, scrolling through old photos of the store on her phone. "Look," she said suddenly. Sam turned. "What?" She held the phone out. "This is from last year, when we fixed the shelves." Sam leaned closer. In the photo, the basement door was visible behind the counter. The step that later broke looked fine. But something else caught his eye. A faint line on the wall beside the stairs. The same darker grey line. "Why didn't we see it before?" Nora asked. Sam shook his head. "Because we weren't looking." Morning came too soon. Sam made coffee neither of them wanted. They sat at the small kitchen table, the sound of the clock ticking too loud. "We should call the police," Nora said again, softer this time. Sam sighed. "And say what?" "There's a hidden passage and a voice called us." Nora frowned. "Someone threatened us." "Yes," Sam agreed. "But they didn't give a name. They didn't come in. They didn't do anything we can prove." "So we do nothing?" Nora asked. Sam looked down at his cup. "No. We find out what's under our store." Nora stared at him. "Are you serious?" Sam met her eyes. "They already know we saw it. Pretending we didn't won't protect us." Nora was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay. But we don't go alone." They opened the store late that day. Sam put up a small sign that said delayed opening. Repairs. Inside, everything looked normal again. Too normal. Sam locked the front door behind them and walked straight to the basement door. His hand hesitated on the handle. Nora stood close. Slowly. He unlocked it. The stairs looked the same, except for the broken step, which now had a clear crack across it. Sam avoided it carefully and stepped down. The basement smelled colder than before. The wall panel was exactly where it had been. Hidden. Quiet. Sam reached out and pressed on it. Nothing happened. Nora exhaled in relief. Maybe it closed fully. Sam frowned. He pressed harder. The panel shifted. They both froze. Sam pulled it open just enough to peer inside. The passage was still there. And this time, there was light. A faint glow deeper inside, like a bulb struggling to stay alive. Nora whispered, "Someone's been here." Sam nodded. They did not go in right away. Instead, Sam pulled out his phone and turned on the camera. "If anything happens," he said, "it's recorded." They stepped into the passage together. The corridor sloped downward slightly. The walls were reinforced with wood and metal strips. Old wires ran along the ceiling, some leading deeper into the dark. The air felt wrong. Too still. They walked slowly, counting steps without meaning to. After about 20 steps, the passage opened into a room. Nora gasped. The room was small but crowded. Shelves lined the walls, filled with boxes and folders. A metal table stood in the center. On it sat a lamp, still glowing weakly. Someone had been there recently. Sam picked up a folder from the nearest shelf. Dust puffed into the air. Inside were papers. Lists. Dates. Names. Nora leaned over his shoulder. "What is that?" Sam flipped a page. His heart sank. "They're records," he said. "Deliveries. Movements." "Movements of what?" Nora asked. Sam pointed to a line. Under location, it said, River Road Unit. Under status, it said, active. Nora's voice shook. Active means, still in use. Sam nodded slowly. A sound came from behind them. Footsteps. They turned sharply. A man stood at the edge of the passage. Middle-aged. Neatly dressed. Calm. "Please don't touch anything," the man said politely. Nora's heart raced. "Who are you?" The man smiled faintly. "Someone who has been maintaining this place for a long time." Sam stepped forward. "You threatened us." The man nodded. "I warned you." "You hid something under our store," Sam said. "Without our knowledge." The man sighed. "You bought the surface. Not what's beneath." Nora's anger flared. That's not how buildings work. The man's smile faded. It is when paperwork disappears. Sam tightened his grip on the folder. What is this place? The man hesitated, then said, a transfer point. For what? Nora demanded. The man looked at the shelves. At the table. At the passage behind Sam and Nora. For people, he said. Nora felt sick. You're lying. I wish I were, the man replied calmly. Sam's voice was low. People from where? The man answered, from places no one asks about. To places no one checks. Nora shook her head. You can't do that under a grocery store. The man shrugged slightly. We've done it under many things. Sam's phone buzzed suddenly in his hand. A notification. Live stream started. Nora stared at the screen. Sam, did you start that? Sam shook his head slowly. The man's eyes narrowed. The phone showed the camera view, still recording. And below it, a counter. Viewers were joining. What did you do? The man asked sharply. Sam swallowed. Nothing. The man stepped forward. Turn it off. Sam didn't move. The man reached out, but Nora stepped between them. Don't touch him, she said, her voice shaking but firm. The man stopped. His calm cracked just a little. You have no idea what you're interfering with, he said. Sam raised the phone slightly. A lot of people are about to. The counter kept climbing. The man looked at the shelves again, then at the passage, then back at Sam and Nora. You're making a mistake, he said quietly. Nora met his eyes. So did you. Sirens sounded in the distance. The man's face hardened. This isn't over. He turned and walked back into the passage, disappearing into the dark. Sam and Nora stood frozen. The sirens grew louder. Nora's legs gave out, and she sat on the floor, shaking. We did the right thing, Sam said, though his voice trembled. I know, Nora whispered. But what happens now? Sam looked at the shelves, the hidden room, the life they thought they understood. I think, he said slowly, our store was never simple. The sirens stopped outside. Heavy footsteps approached the basement stairs. And as Sam helped Nora to her feet, he knew the hardest part was still ahead. Because the truth they had uncovered was bigger than one man. And it was not done fighting to stay hidden. The police lights washed the inside of the store with red and blue flashes. Sam and Nora stood near the basement stairs as officers moved past them, voices low but urgent. One officer followed the hidden passage with two others, their flashlights cutting through the dark. Another stayed behind, asking questions, taking notes, glancing at the broken step again and again. Nora sat on a crate, wrapped in a thin blanket someone had brought from a patrol car. Her hands still shook. Sam answered what he could. When the officer asked how long the passage had been there, Sam told the truth. We didn't know, he said. We just found it. The officer nodded, but his eyes showed doubt mixed with something else. Worry. Minutes stretched. Then a voice echoed from below. We found another room. The word another landed heavy. Sam's chest tightened. Nora reached for his hand. He squeezed back. They waited as more officers went down. Radios crackled. Someone cursed softly. After what felt like hours, a tall officer came up the stairs. His face was tight. We need to ask you both to step outside, he said. Now. Outside, the street had filled with police vehicles. Neighbors stood behind tape, whispering, pointing at the familiar store as if it had suddenly turned into something dangerous. Nora's eyes filled with tears. We didn't know, she said to no one in particular. Sam wrapped an arm around her shoulders. I know. The tall officer spoke again. There are holding spaces under your building. Old. Recently used. Records, names, routes. We've called in federal teams. Nora felt dizzy. People were moved through our store. Yes, the officer said. And not just once. Sam swallowed. Are there people down there now? The officer paused. Not anymore. Nora closed her eyes. The days that followed blurred together. Investigators came and went. The store stayed closed. News vans parked across the street. Reporters asked questions Sam and Nora could not answer. They learned more than they ever wanted to know. The hidden rooms were part of an old network. Long ago, it had been built quietly, piece by piece, under ordinary places. A bakery, a shop, a storage unit. Each location signed off by builders whose names appeared again and again in old records. One name appeared more than most. Hale. Sam stared at the file when an investigator showed it to him. Who was he? A contractor, the investigator said. Specialized in reinforcement and concealment. Is he alive? Nora asked. The investigator hesitated. We believe so. That answer stayed with them. The man who had confronted them in the passage was caught 2 days later. He did not resist. He said little. But what he did say confirmed the worst. People stopped asking questions, he had said. So we kept moving. The grocery store was declared a protected site. The hidden areas were sealed, then opened again under watch. Evidence was taken. Names were cross-checked. Some of those names belonged to people who had been reported missing years ago. Nora cried when she heard that. I smiled at customers every day, she said one night, sitting on their couch. I stocked shelves while this was happening. Sam held her. You didn't know. I should have felt something, she whispered. Sam shook his head. You felt kindness. That's not a fault. A week later, they were allowed back into the store. The broken step had been removed. The hidden wall was gone. The basement looked wrong without its secrets. Empty in a way that felt loud. An investigator handed Sam a box. These were found in the hidden room. They don't belong to us. Sam opened it. Inside were small items. A scarf. A watch. A notebook with faded writing. Nora picked up the notebook carefully. On the first page was a name and a date. This belongs to someone, she said softly. Yes, the investigator replied. And now we might be able to return it. After he left, Sam and Nora stood in the basement alone. The hum of the fridge above them felt distant. What do we do now? Nora asked. Sam looked around. We decide what this place becomes. The store reopened a month later. The sign was repainted. The door frame fixed. The shelves rearranged. But something else changed too. They placed a small table near the entrance. On it sat a box labeled Found Items and a sign that read, If this belongs to you or someone you love, please ask. People came. Some just shopped quietly. Others paused at the table, reading the sign with careful eyes. A few asked questions. One afternoon, an older woman stood at the table for a long time. She held the scarf from the box with trembling hands. My sister wore this, she said. Nora stepped forward. Would you like to sit? The woman nodded. They talked for hours. Word spread. Slowly, carefully. The store became something more than a place to buy food. It became a place where names were spoken again. One evening, as Sam closed the register, the phone rang. He stiffened. Nora watched him. Do you want me to answer? Sam shook his head and picked it up himself. Hello. For a moment, there was only quiet. Then a familiar calm voice spoke. You made a lot of noise, the voice said. Sam's jaw tightened. You shouldn't be calling here. I don't live by should, the voice replied. Nora stepped closer. Sam said, people know now. Yes, the voice said. And that makes you dangerous. Sam felt anger rise. No. That makes us honest. A pause followed. You found my work, the voice said. Under the stairs. You ruined lives, Sam replied. I built structures, the voice said calmly. Others used them. Sam's hand shook. You knew. Another pause. Yes, the voice said. Nora leaned close to the receiver. People suffered. I'm aware, the voice replied. Sam's heart pounded. Why call? Because I want you to understand something, the voice said. You broke a step. That's all it took. The line went silent. Sam slowly set the phone down. Nora stared at him. That was him. Sam nodded. He wanted credit. Nora's voice hardened. He won't get it. Months passed. Investigations continued. Some people were charged. Others disappeared from public view. The store stayed open. Sam fixed the stairs himself. He replaced every step with solid wood. He reinforced the basement walls the right way, with permits and inspections and bright lights that left no shadow. Nora added plants to the windows. She played music again. One quiet morning, a man came in holding a photo. "My brother worked near here years ago," he said. "He never came home." Nora looked at the photo, then at the box. "Sit with us," she said gently. Outside, the street moved on. Cars passed. Life continued. But inside the small grocery store, truth had a place to stand. The broken step was gone. The secret was not. It had become a story told carefully, honestly, and out loud. And Sam and Nora learned something they would carry forever. Sometimes, the most terrifying secrets are not hidden far away. They are hidden beneath ordinary steps, waiting for someone brave enough to break them open.